ripped off the aircon because a lot of my grinding noise after all that was in this pulley here. And I was thinking, you know, I didn't see anything really bad with the pickup of the oil. Where's the grinding noise? So I've done obviously the other two pulleys on the other belts, but this one, after, because I started it, obviously, but that grinding noise is out of here. Now, if you look at my very early videos when I did the engine up, I just grabbed this aircon pump off the donor ute and painted it up and just stuck it straight on without even really testing. It's a bit slack, really. I should have tested everything, but I'm learning as I go. So if you listen to this, and this is not at 1000 RPMs, if you listen, hear the grinding noise? Let's see if I can do that a bit more. Oops. So you can really hear that noisy. So that at 900 to 1000 RPMs, it's hard with one hand. You can hear it really grounding, like grinding, like I think they have bearings. I haven't pulled one of these down, but I can see there's one main bolt there. I think this is like a magnet thing. I've seen on other aircon pulleys that they're like a magnet type deal on the front of them, but that is grinding. So when the engine was running, it was almost putting off a sound like the tappets weren't getting oil. So this is the only other one, because I got a brand new water pump, so that's brand new and that won't make noise. But this is the last of the ones that go on the belt, and that's got a real bad grinding sound. So I'm take this bolt off and be back in a second and see what the go is. Okay, so that middle one was a 14mm, and I just used the impact battery drill just to take it off, because there's nothing, unless you got some sort of vice and all that sort of stuff, to hold that. But yeah, it was only 2 seconds with just the impact drill. So what I did next is just got it a little bit behind that lip, or that lip doesn't really matter, but this one's a lot thinner than the other one. But I just with the screwdriver on both sides, like screwdriver underneath. So this is just sitting on like a small thread, obviously. So I haven't taken this off, but it's definitely got loose. So I think it's just about to fall off. So I want to grab it with my hands a little bit more, and there, she's off. And look what's behind. Okay, so you can see behind this. Wow, never seen behind one of these before. Okay, so that's there. So that's only held in with one bolt and a little bit of shimming. Took a little bit because obviously it's probably hasn't been taken off in a long time. Definitely, it's definitely spun on better days. So there's not a lot of movement in the actual bringing it forward and back, so she's on pretty good. So now I've got to work out how that is held on in here. So I'm going to clean all this up and just see if there's any sort of circlips or something like that that hold that on. But that's, if you can see, that's what she's resting on at the moment. So what my main thing I want to do is, there should be bearings in here, I reckon, somewhere, and to see how that comes apart. So that'll be the next part of this. Now just looking around it, look what you can see underneath. See the two, it's very greasy, I haven't cleaned it yet, but I can see, one, you can see definitely the small little hole, and that one's got grease just over it, but that'll have a hole. That'll be the circlip. So that needs one of those pliers that you put it in the holes and push it out to bring that off. It must lock in there. Yeah, you can see a little bit more of the hole. You can see a little bit more of the hole in that corner. So it's definitely got a circlip around the edge of it. So I've got to see if I've even got one of those tools. I'll have a look in the garage. So before looking in the garage for that tool, I'm just getting a bit of a paper towel with a screwdriver behind it, and just giving it the once over. Even though the once over is sometimes 10 over, 20 over. Just so you can start to see more of it. And just let the screwdriver out of the way and get the hands in there. Shouldn't really do that on the bench, I have to quickly clean that. She's definitely had some wear and tear, look at that. Oh, that's going on the bench, damn it. So if I can get right under there for a second with the screwdriver, you're able to see that other part of the circlip. Get in there. You're going to go in there. Just got to give that a clean. Let's see where you can stick that tool. There we go. There's your holes, and there's a bit of this silver holding it. Boy, they make them a little bit tight to get into. These are things you have to do. Would have been easier if I did this earlier, but anyway, I wanted to get the engine together and originally, and was hoping that it was still good with its pulley bearing, but I reckon that's, yeah, that looks, it's definitely seen better days. Be interesting once this, so I reckon that obviously holds on. It's probably got a groove in there somewhere that it locks onto, so this can spin, but I reckon that will have a replaceable bearing behind there, and I'll clean up all this metal so it's like new. Interesting how I always find it very interesting how things are put together. Alright, let's clean that up a bit more. Okay, so I've just got a basic, it's like a Trojan, small one. And so we've got like little pointy edges. That was good enough to do that job. It's only a small one, you can get those from Bunnings. And this is what I'm talking about, this is a circlip. So you just put it in there, and then it's good for two, like even to have two people as well to hold the unit, which will make it easier. And then just flexed out and brought around the outside of it. And now with that off, you can see it has that movement in and out. So if you go in there, out and in. So when I did that, then even another small washer from the very front that sat just here came off as well. So you can see, looks like we got a bearing that's going to be replaced. So there's probably a little code on that bearing. Anyway, you go to your local bearing place or a place that stocks bearings and you should be able to match it. So now it's just a matter of trying to get that off and see how it goes. I have this out of the shed. I actually got this for the old VS Commodore ambulance that I did for the harmonic balancer to remove. But it works like a jack with the fluid, so you can't turn it sideways. So I could never got to use it. But on this, I've put it like this. I've put a socket. What size socket have I got? Should say the size somewhere on there. 3/16 upside down. And because it's got that electronic part underneath, so I've put it on the very lip of the metal and not on the underneath. You don't touch that, I'm sure. So it's just the underneath. So then this machine with its details. You well, I got the old cheap ratchet as I'm using it like a jack, and trying to slowly pull that off and going upwards. So I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so that pretty much worked. I pretty much got it to about there, upwards, this thing. Definitely makes things easier. And then I just put my thumb inside when that was over it, like that. Just pushed it there on both sides with the thumb like that, and my other side and my hand, and just pushed in. It just slid off. Well, sort of with a bit of pressure behind it. Very happy. So, what do we got next? So this is obviously... What's it run on? There's a bearing on this. It's not the bearing. That has to be the bearing. I don't know. It must be one of these things. I wouldn't have a clue. I really wouldn't. I haven't seen one of these done. So that must be the bearing in there. How does that come off? Alright. Gotta do a bit more of seeing what's going on. What's holding this? So this is like the electronic part of it, I gather. Very interesting. Alright, I'll be back. So I was looking at that, and then I looked on the inside. It looks like it's got like another type of circlip locking ring thing in there. But when I turn this in here, this must be some type of bearing. I wouldn't have a clue, but this is turning, and I can feel it rough as guts in there. Like the sound is, that's where that rough sound is. So I reckon that is a different type of bearing. So what I'm going to try to do is take that out, because that sounds bad in there. I don't think there's any sort of, other than being sort of pushed in, I don't think anything's holding that. I think it'll have to, I think it comes up to that edge and is knocked in this way. So by rights, that should knock down with a bit bigger socket maybe. Get a bigger socket. See if I can get that out, see what happens after that. Under closer inspection of this, it looks like it's got some sort of, if you look there, it's like there's a gap there. It looks like there's like even some sort of bit of metal in there that's been stuck there just so that doesn't move. Look on the edge of it. Yeah, that's better. Looks like it's got some sort of edging on each side that needs to come out. So I've got to see what that is. At least we can sort of see some code numbers there. Made in Japan. Yeah. Alright, let's keep going. Okay, that was really easy. I got a tool like this, just with like the little bit of a point. And all I did, it just popped out, so I was hoping to just put it on its lip so I could show, but I practically just went in behind it and just wedged it out like that, and the whole thing just popped up and then spat itself out. So look at that. That keeps it in there from falling out on the lip, and you can see more of how the bearing looks there now. I don't think it's got a... Yeah, so that should pop. Now that's... You look, that's the lip it sits in. I should be able to get that bearing out. Just got to get a larger socket. See if we can get her out. Okay, so come outside. What am I using? Pretty good size socket. What is that, 1 1/4? And putting it up on the top, giving that a good bash. So far, I've just hit that 3 or 4 times, and you can see the bearing is coming out. Awesome. You can see the bottom of the socket there as well. So I'll keep on going, and I might have to put something. I can't do that on the flat because I won't go any further. I'll have to put a gap between it somehow. Alright, I'll be back soon. What I've done is just laid it a little bit on it, just especially on wood, because wood's soft and stuff like when you're bashing. But you can see a bit more bashing. It's coming out a bit more. Oh, that sounded like it fell. It came out. Oh, awesome! Right on camera too. I like it when it does that. There we go. There. Oh. There is the noisy bearing. Oh boy, far out. Like with bearings, like I'm just putting pressure on the inside, pushing it with the outside. That bearing is stuffed. Far out. How they put it at? Did you have to just jump right in the way? Wow. Wow. That's so good. So that was a bit of a, what would you call it? A bit of a deceptive sound, because I thought a lot of that sound was coming from my rockers. I'm so happy that I've done all the work I've done to that rocker shaft, but this girl needs replacing. It's a strange looking bearing. I'm more used to the ones that have got a bit more wider side here and the small narrow insert there. But that's where she came out of. And that's practically, I'll have to give that just a bit of a shimmy clean in there. Give it all a bit of clean up anyway. But yeah, that needs replacing. Once I get the part number and stuff like that, I'll let everyone know. But this is the interesting part about cars, where I've never done anything like this on anything to do with cars with aircon, you know. So I find this really fascinating, learning as I go and seeing what needs to be done. Now, I don't know about the electronic part of the air compressor. I'm hoping everything still works once it's all put together. But this is a major part of the bad sound that I'm getting, so I want to do the sound at least first and go from there. I don't have much doubts that air conditioner AC pump doesn't work. So I reckon everything will work and sound great once this bearing's replaced. So yeah, great news. So that's how they get the bearing out. Easy peasy, Japanesey. You have to go through it to get through it. So that's out. Now I'll have to wait till tomorrow and get a see if I can source a bearing for this girl. Awesome. Okay, so back to the bad bearing and the roughness. Just got back from I think it's called National Bearings in Dandenong, Victoria. I've already opened this, but the difference is phenomenal. Still an NSK. They're just it's like got a green rim, a green edge. greenish edge. This one's more black. And I just dropped it again. Crazy bearing, had to be on its round side. Anyway, I heard it. But look at that. You don't hear anything. It is awesome. So that cost, I think it was $22 or $23. Had to go all the way there. I couldn't find anything local. But that is the nice newie. So there's a big difference with, so you can still hear that roughness. Where this, it's so smooth, unreal. So I've got to clean up just the parts that I pulled apart, and then she's going to be put in. Just quickly zoom in on the box with the number, part number for NSK. So that's your, you can easily pause and you should be able to read that with your part number for it. So if you need to do your air compressor, whatever, that's your code. Okay, prior to putting the new bearing in, I'm just going to get some 2000 grit wet and dry sandpaper, because it feels still just a little bit rough around the edges. So I'm just going to give that a bit of a wet and dry. So I've done a little bit. You can see the stuff coming off a bit. And the thing is, you also want to dry this very well after wet and dry. You don't want that getting surface rust growing on it. Not bad for one hand job. Of course I'll do more with two hands, but you can see the stuff coming off it. It's definitely getting, you pretty much want that smooth like the bearing feels on the outside. So, getting there. Okay, so that's all nicely done. And smooth as, so I'm going to stick some of that all-purpose grease in there just for a smooth insertion of the bearing, make it a bit easier when I tap it in. But she's nice and clean and dry, so that's ready for the bearing. Okay, so I got the good old all-purpose grease again. Just give it, just make it a bit easier for it to insert it in there, and then clean the excess once it's been put into where it should be. Oops. Doesn't go good on the floorboards. 1 second. Oh, I'll tell you what, nothing like a new bearing. So I'll do the same with this. I'm going to use two hands. I am going to get tripod going eventually. So I'm just going to do on the outside of this, get it into place, and start to get the insertion going. Okay, so that's just sitting where it should be with nice grease. So now I'm just going to tap that in. I accidentally threw my old bearing out. It's probably good to have the old bearing to sit on there and bash it in there. So I'm just going to use the socket. So just remember, if you've got your old bearing, just place it on top, and that's exactly the circumference you need. But anyway, got to make do with what I did. Put it in the bin and went out with the rubbish, so just got to work with the socket now. Okay, so the bearing is in. I wiped off as much of the excess grease off. Nice brand new bearing insert. So now I've just got to clean that sort of that circlip single bit of metal prior to putting that in, but that'll be the first thing I just stick in, where it goes in just that edge room to stop that from moving, because that's already got a lip on the internal part there. So that pretty much bearing going in there can't go past that part, obviously, because that's steel already in the mold. But yeah, circlip in there first. Okay, so I cleaned up that circlip, sort of, that's what I'm calling it for now. So that has to be bent right in. It's got movement. You can see, you can push that in. Where's it going blurry on my fingers again? But yeah, it's definitely got flex, so you can push it right in. So that'll be the first thing I do. Back soon. So I haven't got it in fully yet, but I just started off on one corner, put it in the actual inner lip, and then I just bent it, like just bowed it a little bit all the way through, and it's only got that little bit left, which is sit on the outer rim, just there. You can see it's on the outer. So if I push that, ow, my nail went in. I cut my nail. That's in, all just done by hand. So that's all nicely in now, and that's all it was. Very easy, actually, very easy. So that's all nicely in all around the edges, make sure, and then I'll just push it out on the, make sure it's pushed out on the rim as well. So that's inserted, so that's the bearing done. I might even stick some all-purpose on this as well, just so it's nicely lubed. Should I, shouldn't I? Anyway, looks grass with a nice fresh brand new bearing. Back soon. Okay, I put a very fine amount of grease on there and of where it's going to go over. I don't know if you're supposed to, but I don't find that bit of lube around metal to metal parts is going to hurt it. Definitely will help on the process of putting it back on. So I just got a bit of timber, so I can go on this flat area and tap it back on. See how we go, eh? Okay, that went relatively pretty easy, tapping that on. Got rid of the excess grease in there. Look how beautifully smooth that is now. I've cleaned off this circlip and this little washer. It's on very well, how it was. Yeah, that's beautiful. So next, I've got to insert this girl, and then I'll be putting this one back on. Remember, that goes underneath the bolt under there. So I'll get that. It's probably the hardest part of the whole thing. Get that on. That went in pretty good, actually. Just make sure you have something like either your finger to, when you're opening that up, just make sure you either got a screwdriver once you start opening it up. Just get it right under the first bit of the lip. And then it's just a matter of getting the sides on the edges and pushing down as you go, and eventually she'll click into place. Then it's always good to just make sure with a screwdriver, where am I? Just to push it in and make sure it's inside that lip and going around, and then bring in the pliers tight that way, so make sure that's right in the groove all the way. Yeah. Oh, beautiful spin, love it. No noise this time. Beautiful. All right, next two things to go. Okay, so next we throw that little washer, whoops, over the top there. It's like a spacer protecting the inner part there. Going on. Let's try the other way around. That's better. Like that. And then we throw this on. Goes down like, very nice. Yep. And then we feed this on. So after I tighten that up, I'm going to clean all these edges so it's nice and black. Back in a sec. Okay, we're back again. So I've cleaned up all the front of that. Put the nut on. She looks really good. Spins. Beautiful. Nothing like a brand new bearing. So, stick it back there. Start to leak a little bit there, but I've got tape over that. But do it yourself and you can save quite a bit of money and also learn a bit as you go. So there's no noise, listen. Beautiful. All right, that's ready to install. I might clean up just a little bit more around here, but anyway, that's the aircon bearing replacement. Okay, so I've removed the two pulleys off the front of the engine and bashed out the bearings and got a couple nice newies. Now they can only come out one way. If you look on this side, you got like there's like a lip on that side, so the bearings can't go out this way. They can only come out this up the top way, so they're out this way, so they get bashed out this way. So I bashed these out with a socket, so I just got a socket around this size and knocked them out. These when the engine was running during this tappet sound, I hadn't replaced these on previous videos when I was just putting the engine together. All I did is give them a bit of a spray paint of black, and I didn't do them at the time, but I should have done them at the time. But yeah, I hadn't had the engine running, so I didn't know the condition of them at that stage. So I got a couple bearings, brand new. These, so if you look at this one's got sort of a lip up here. This is, I think that's just a tension belt because it's got no ribs in it, so it just pretty much pushes on the belt and it's smooth. This one up here is the very skinny one at the very top on the left side on an XG93 model, and it's got the small skinny belt on it. But both these have got exactly, so if I get this bearing here and this bearing here, they're exactly the same. Same type bearing there. These bearings are very nice. For the two bearings from a bearing shop, cost me $17. So this is the part number that I got. If you look at that, you can easily pause the video if you want that part number. And they're made in Japan, so pretty good. 17 bucks. So the good thing about the steel pulleys is that you don't have to buy the whole thing if they're plastic. These are, you just replace the bearing and the dead center. So what I'll be doing is probably put in a fine film of grease around the edge just for the knocking in process, and throwing those back on. Got to remember how to put these back on as far as with the belts and all that sort of stuff. It's been a while, but I'll see if I can do a small video on how to put these on, because I haven't seen any on the XG. A lot of videos on replacing belts and pulleys are on the like the VCT engine, AU, all that sort of stuff, which have a slightly different pulley system on the front. So haven't really seen much as far as the XG Ford model go with the sort of pulley system that's on the front of the one I've got. So I'll see how we do the belts and stuff like that. See what I can film. I've still got the fan on it and it's and the radiator and all that. I want to try and hopefully be able to get that on without ripping all that out. It's a work in progress, but yeah, so I'll be putting the new ones in. I have a new lease of life with the lifters, and hopefully that quietens it down as well, and we'll go from there. But yeah, that's the brand I got for these ones. So both of these, same bearing, got the part number, and hope that helps you out if you're ever doing a similar job. Back soon. Okay, I'm back, and I taped the centers just so I didn't get direct paint on where the bearing's going to go, but I painted front, sides and backs. Not perfect, but all it is a pulley. Painted the front of this, again taped, just put some painter's tape on the inside all the way around, and I put paint around where the chrome goes, and then I just gave it just a freshen up with some nice fresh black. So what I'm going to do is, so with the bearings, because they can only go in one way like I said, and just to give it a little bit of ease, that good old multi-purpose grease like I was doing on the tappers, the lifters things, yeah, those. I'm going to put just a thin bead around the edge, and just to make it a little bit more easy to knock in. Now what I'm going to do is get a good size hammer, and I'm going to use timber. Some people use sockets. I find timber gives it a little bit of a, like it's not metal to metal, so timber gives a bit more give in the actual structure of the wood. So I'll put the timber directly across here, so it's got even consistency of when it goes in. So when I hit it, when it's covered all the way across, it's going to give it pretty much all the face of the bearing is going to have pressure on it at the same time. So I'll take this outside and just show you a little bit more of what I am going to do to get those bearings in. Like I said before, put a little bit of grease on the inner and on the actual bearing itself. So stick it there, like that, and the other one like that, and then get a bit of paper towel and clean your hands, and then something like that. When you use a hammer, straight down, bang, bang, bang. We'll see how they go. Okay, they're both in. Now I did change something a little bit from what I last said. I used, one second, use the trusty glasses for a second to see what I'm doing in here. So what I did is I used the wood, just, these are very, not the most easiest to put in. I've seen on other videos that some people use a vise as well. So this is a 34mm socket. So what I did originally is, after the wood bashing and it really didn't go in as much, I used a dead flat, because it's got a pretty good wide surface on that, to go that way, to bash it in just till it gets flush on the actual metal, because that, obviously this is bigger than the circumference of the bearing. And then once it got to there, because it's got a lip on the inner, then I got a 1 3/16. It's pretty bright, isn't it? And then I turned it around that way, so I got the flat end on the other side, just so I get the rim of the bearing. So when you get the bearings, one second, let me get one of the old bearings out. There we go. So you want to have on the bearing, so you got two metal bits of fascia, so you want to hit it on the outside of the bearing case. So you want to have that pretty much in circumference. See, that fits pretty good. The 1 and 3, is it, what did I say? Yeah, I said the size before. The 1 3/16 or whatever it was. Was it 1 3/16? I've got bad memory these days. Yeah, 1 3/16. So that fits pretty much perfect on the size of the bearing. Now, that will take it down to the flushing side to make it flush or almost flush, because these have got ellipse, like I said before. It's got a lip here, so the bearing can't go any further. But it doesn't stay flush on here. It stays flush on the almost flush on the other side. It almost centers the way it does it. So it goes down to the very bottom, and just a little bit on this one, down a little bit. This one's a lot more in its depth, but they're both done. Both brand new bearings, $17, and a little bit of the time, obviously, to go get them and stuff like that. They're the sockets I used. I tried, like, sometimes they do work with the wood, but these were very, it's very tight, probably for the work they do as well. Don't want the whole pulley shaking off the bearing as it's going at the speeds they go. So, okay, they're done. So the next part of this will be putting them on. Okay, so on this pulley, I'm going to put some anti-seize, a copper-based anti-seize on the inner of the bearing, and it's right down there. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit on the spindle, what it sits on. So just around its main part where it contacts, which is at the probably the back end, not so much obviously where the thread is. So that's always a good idea to put some anti-seize on that part and on the bearing, because they spin fast when they spin. So yeah, so a little bit to get on the thread, doesn't matter, all's good. So something like that. Don't quote me on it, I'm not sure, because I took this off because this is in two pieces with the other pulley. I'll show you what I mean. We saw it on the car when I was showing where it was lubed. That is part of the bracket. So if you look, these sort of look like, I can't tell exactly what sort of tool, maybe a 6-point tool would be able to grab that, if that's something to be grabbed. I just took this main bolt off here, but you can see you got movement up and down. Just in the one hand I can move that. Let me do it there. You can see the movement, so that's the adjuster. So I'd say this is where you can loosen and tighten up where you want it with the belt. That's what I reckon. So maybe that's a way of decreasing and lowering it through these teeth. I'm not 100%, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just playing it by ear, more or less. So there's your movement adjuster with that one to get probably the belt on and off. But that's only hand nipped, so I can already turn that thread. Anyway, we'll keep continuing on, see how we go. Okay, so we've got the pulley on there. Now I've got a 13mm 1/2-inch drive. This has got the multi teeth inside. Are they 12-point or something like that? They got a lot of teeth in there. Anyway, what I noticed is on these, they fit perfectly, and that looks like the adjuster. So it's got the tightener here, which is that big nut, and then there's the adjuster to tighten it where you want the belt is. Where you want the belt tight or not tight. So on the back, if you look here, it can go up and down there. See the little teeth? So that must be the adjuster to either loosen the belt and tighten the belt when you want to change it. So 13mm 1/2 inch multi-teeth socket fits on that nice and snug, because it's a funny looking thing and it has got multi sort of flat spots which are perfect for this one. So I'll put that on soon. Okay, so I'll put the air conditioner on. Now with these belts, see your top tensioner pulley, so you just loosen that bigger bolt here, and this one, the way it is, oh now it's going down, this one in the center brings the pulley up and down, so this is the way it's going down. So if you look on the aircon, it's hard to get the exact way it's going, but that pulley pushes down on the belt from the top, so it's practically going around there, around that harmonic balancer at the back, the very back part of the belt. So you can see that sort of belt just there without focusing on my finger. And as I bring this one down, see it going down, and it's bringing tension to the belt here, and that's what keeps it on nice and tight. Now, I'm not an expert on how tight belts go, but you obviously don't want it super tight, so it's too tight all the time, and you don't want it too floppy because it'll flop off. So you can always seek further advice, but I'm just going to put it tight to what I feel is good enough and then go from there. So that's how they work. And then once you get it in where you want it, then you tighten the bigger bolt tight and it'll stay in place. Yeah, so that's how that's done. But it's good to get the aircon in, aircon pulley, aircon pump, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, we're getting there. Okay, put the air conditioner, obviously the aircon on, the pulleys are done. Obviously the water pump pulley was already new. I haven't done anything with this power steering wheel, but let's give it a start and see if there's any noises. Here we go. A little bit of noise from the exhaust, just still a little sounds, still a very fine sound down there, but no shaft noise, no noise off the air conditioner, and none off the pulleys. That is running beautiful. What a very good result. The engine's purring. Beautiful. Well done.